Even after moving to a new town over 100 miles away, I couldn't escape the lingering sense of dread. My family left behind the wreckage of our old home, hoping to put that horrific night behind us. But it wasn't that easy to just run from whatever those things were. The first few weeks in our new place were uneventful, almost allowing me to relax into a false sense of security. Maybe we really had left those nightmare beings behind for good this time. Or so I desperately wanted to believe. It started small, half-glimpsed movements flickering in the corners of my vision when I'd wake in the dead of night. Faint, strange sounds, like the scritching of insect legs just beyond the walls. I did my best to dismiss them as the creaks and groans of an old house settling. But the signs became more overt, more impossible to rationalize away. One morning I discovered a trail of that same viscous, inky slime they had left behind streaked across the bathroom floor. Another night, I awoke to find crude symbols scorched into the drywall, like some sort of profane hieroglyphs burned from the inside. The worst, however, came a few weeks later in the dead of night. I'll never forget being roused from sleep by a series of unearthly shrieks. Petrified, I followed the sounds into the basement, and was met by an unholy sight. Gathered in the shadows, surrounded by a pulsating reddish-black plasma, were those same twisted forms I had hoped to leave behind, elongated, boneless limbs protruding from their liquid bodies. Serrated mouths opened wide in voiceless screams. They almost seemed excited as they sensed my arrival, swaying in unison like a perverse mockery of a cult's obscene rituals. As I watched in stunned horror, they began to amalgamate through a grotesque process, tendrils whipping around feverishly, their individual bodies merging and entwining into an ever-growing, shapeless mass of oozing goo. All the while, that same unnatural baying and keening filled the air like nails scratching my brain. Within moments, that pulsating polymorphic monstrosity had grown to easily 20 feet tall, straining against the basement's low ceiling. A single malformed aperture opened vertically within the roiling mass, belching forth a noxious yellow vapor. Then, an ominous reverberating voice like a perverse echo rumbled forth. "We have awaited your return, child of the in-between. Now the great culling may final—" I didn't remain conscious long enough to hear the rest. The next thing I remember was choking, drowning in that vile plasma that seemed to sear my lungs from the inside. Searing pain lanced through my skull as something shifted and cracked within my mind. Finally blessed oblivion as I slipped into the void of unconsciousness. From what little I've been able to piece together, my father found me lying there amidst a scene of utter chaos and devastation in the basement. While I had somehow miraculously survived the exposure, my beloved mother and younger sister weren't so fortunate. In the aftermath, my dad and I struck out again to try and escape this nightmare cyclically intruding upon our lives. We have no choice but to keep moving and keep running in hopes that someday we can finally leave these evil entities and the madness they breed behind us for good. But a part of me has begun accepting that there is no outrunning one's fate. Not when these beings are but a harbinger, emissaries of something far older and more vast than we can possibly comprehend. So I steel myself and prepare for the day when the darkness inevitably finds me once more, when it returns to make good on its profane promise of culling, and the true fight for my very soul begins anew.